got to tell you, when it comes to fishing, I love the fish, and occasionally I catch them, but I'm generally considered bad luck. You know. Of course, with muskies, the muskies, what the hell?
I've had a tough year. I did get one big 48-incher, 2 others, but that's it for the year so far.
Yep.
I think everyone's using their. I was say everyone's using a binder, but no, they're not.
I don't know if I'm just not sleeping well or what. Man.
Thank you, LaDonna. What page is this?
Sure. Do you ever do that, like out of pictures that you're Yeah, that's about the gist of the message. You have
Come out at budget time, huh? People come out at budget time.
All right, we're going to start the meeting. Welcome to the City of Merrill Committee of the Whole meeting. We are in the City Hall Council chambers. It is 6 o'clock. Next item on the agenda is roll call. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Andrew Kaler.
Here.
Mr. Michael Kaler.
Here.
Mr. Meyer.
Present.
Ms. Firmanek.
Here.
Mr. Lass.
Here.
Mr. Rick.
Here.
Mr. Wakes.
Present.
Ms. Rutkowski. Here. Mayor Haas.
Present.
All 9 accounted for.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment period. Any public comment? Second call for public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on to general agenda items for consideration without objection, since the room is full of airport. We'll consider moving the hanger to the front if that's okay. All right. Carl, do you want to, and Gary, do you want to? If I could just remind everybody to turn on their mics and speak into them so that we can record.
So I'm not going to talk too much this time, but I gave some photographs to you. The one set of photographs addresses an issue of who uses our airport. The second photograph set shows you how the hangar is being used today and how full it is. So on the first issue,
I'm sorry, Gary, you're going to have to speak louder.
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to speak louder.
Boy, I'm right on this. Is there a volume control on it?
No, just talk right into it.
All right. The first set of photographs shows aircraft on our ramp. They're jets, except for one is a piston engine aircraft. These aircraft fly in. We don't know where they come from for sure. We don't know what they're in Merrill for. People get off, people get back on, and a few hours later they leave. I'm going to ask Rich to address that a little bit when he talks to you, because he's got more information about it. The one picture in that set there was from a jet that showed up this morning. I was out at the airport at the terminal, and a jet came in and landed. 5 people showed up, got on the airplane, it took off, and when I was back out at the airport at 5 o'clock this afternoon, it had not come back yet. So these are businesses that are doing business here in Merrill. They're coming to Merrill to talk to businesses, and you also had a letter in your packet from Lee Upsall about his contacts with new businesses 4 times in the last year. All came here on aircraft from out of state. The second set of photographs is again indication of the crowding in the current hangar. That hangar is full all the time. The one picture there at that time was taken in June, and Rich had 18 aircraft that were waiting for maintenance. The second one was taken this week, and it shows a twin engine aircraft in there that's owned by Ed Livingston, who uses it for his auction business. And the other aircraft in there is a training aircraft that's based here at Merrill. One more photograph, and then I'm going to step down. But this photograph is a picture of your terminal. It was from a meeting about 2 weeks ago. The meeting was sponsored by the FAA. It was a safety seminar, and there were 34 pilots in attendance at that meeting, and they came from other airports also, other than just Merrill. So your airport's being used without necessarily knowing what's going on out there. I'm going to ask Carl Kemper to come up and address the economics and the financial stuff, if you will, and then we'll have 2 more speakers beyond Carl. So we'll try to make it as short as we can. By the way, Carl is the president of Becker Hoppe Engineering in Wausau. Becker Hoppe has been your engineer since the 50s, the 1950s. Carl.
Good evening, everybody, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight to you about the proposed hangar at the airport. Like Gary said, I'm with Becker Hoppe Associates. Our company has been working at the airport for a long time. I'm a pilot. I'm an aircraft owner. I've used Rich's services before. He's worked on my plane quite a few times, and it's very nice to have a mechanic close to Wausau for me who can work on my plane when I need help with it. And I know a lot of others feel the same way. Gary asked me to be available to talk with you about the financial side of the project. I think I talked to most of you about it, a month or 2 ago when we were here to introduce the project to you. So there is, a full financial breakdown inside of the packet that Rod put together. I'm happy to go through that with you. If anyone has any questions about it, I don't think it's, necessary to dive into the details of that. Really what it boils down to is, you're getting a project, a $2.5 million project for 10 cents on the dollar. And when the project's done, when the hangar's done, it's your hangar, it's the city's hangar. It's going to help benefit the community, help Rich be able to do his job better and probably grow his business there. So it's an asset that becomes part of the community and helps the community's economy. Helps boost aircraft operations at the airport. It'll help boost fuel sales. That all can equate to additional funding coming into the city. So I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Kemper?
Carl, I think the only thing that you should probably emphasize is the existing hangar. We project selling that, and it's anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000, which would come off of our portion of this project. Is that correct? Yes, thank you.
A new hangar of the same size as the one that the city owns right now that Rich is working out of. If you wanted to build a new hangar like that, it cost you somewhere in the ballpark of $400,000. So, we think conservatively you could probably get $100,000 to $200,000 for that existing hangar, which again, you could take the proceeds from that sale and put it towards this project to lessen the burden.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Evan Krieger will talk to you next. He's from the Bureau of Aeronautics. He's an engineer. He's our engineer. He's also a pilot for the governor, so he's very knowledgeable on aviation issues, and we'll let you hear from him, Evan.
Well, thank you very much, Gary, and I appreciate everyone's time. My name is Evan Kruger. I am the project engineer assigned to the Merrill Airport. I work for the Bureau of Aeronautics, and I'm here to kind of answer any questions anyone might have about FAA funding. I understand that it's a little bit different than other funding available to municipalities, counties, etc. The FAA, since the 80s at least, has had a program for funding improvement projects at airports. The current program as it exists is called AIP, the Airport Improvement Program, and that has existed since the 2000s. I don't remember specifically what the old program was called, but that was turned into the Airport Improvement Project. It is reauthorized every 5 years, and just like anything else with the federal government, there's appropriations kind of each year. The current funding status of AIP is it's a $4.5 billion pot of money available to airports across the United States. So that is airports like Merrill, all throughout Wisconsin, small or big, and then each airport gets a different types of funding from that pot. So right now, the FAA is reauthorized through 2028 as they normally would be, and then prior to the expiration of this authorization, they'll reauthorize, and the plan, we don't have any reason to think otherwise that they wouldn't continue. Like I said, this program, this AIP program, is for airports of all size included in the NIPIAS program, the National Airports Program. The other funding source that we're looking at is the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. So this was a law signed in 2021. And this is kind of a one-time shot at this money in the sense that it is not a reoccurring program. We'd also be looking to use these funds towards this hangar project as well.
Are we guaranteed to get those?
Say that again?
Are we guaranteed to get those funds towards this, or?
So right now we worked, Mark Ratchikowski met with the city previously and worked on what's called a capital improvement plan, a CIP plan. Mm-hmm. That's set for 5 years, and basically for the length that we have available that funds are authorized for, we have a plan to use those funds. Both of these programs offer reimbursements, which means you don't have to use the funds to construct the project as long as the project follows federal procurement requirements. You can use those funds to reimburse a project that has already occurred.
Okay.
To answer your question, Mayor, as Evan indicated, the FAA is reauthorized through 2028. So I would say guaranteed through 2028. After 2028, it would have to be something very obscure happening, like the FAA not being reauthorized. That would not allow the rest of the reimbursements to occur. So if you look at the funding schedule, a large sum of that funding comes in before 2028. And just based on some quick off-the-cuff math here, about 600,000 to 700,000 comes after 2028, which that would be the small risk that you're referring to, as if something obscure happened where the FAA did not get reauthorized through 2028, or this program did not get reauthorized. Like Evan said, it's been in place in one form or another since the 80s or prior. We stay very up on industry trends, and there's nothing that we're seeing at this time that would indicate that the FAA is not going to get reauthorized through 2028, or that the AIP program is not going to continue after 2028.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Any other questions I can answer?
I have a question. I don't know if it's you or Carl that could answer this, but in this layout that you have ENT from other airports in fiscal year 2025, and it's 430,000. Is that a guarantee that other airports are going to be able and willing to put that money towards this, or is this just our best case scenario, this is what could happen?
That's a great question. Each airport in Wisconsin and throughout the country, it gets an entitlement. The current entitlement level is $150,000. Money gifted or money granted by the FAA comes with some strings when you have to use it for a qualified project. It has to be eligible and justified. There are some dates that come with that money as well. So there is what we call a period of performance and a period of availability, meaning you can't just sit on all your entitlements for 10 to 20 years. You need to take them within 3 years, and then once you take those funds, you have a certain amount of time to actually complete the project that you applied for those funds for. Different airports throughout Wisconsin have different reasons for taking or not taking their entitlements. With this type of funding source, airports are able to exchange their entitlements to other airports, whether that's through trade or gift. That's kind of a separate thing. The current capital improvement plan, when we set this project up, does include some of those entitlements available.
And so the reason that there is a little bit of uncertainty, indicated in that number is because it's Evan's coworker's best guess as to which airports are going to have leftover entitlements based on their expression of desire to proceed with a project a couple years before that project would occur. So a good airport that I'll give an example of that we work for is Crandon, somewhere that you all are familiar with. They don't have any firm plan right now to move forward with a project. So the BOA's program engineer, Evan's coworker, does his best job to say, okay, it doesn't look like Crandon is going to be doing anything 2 years from now, so we need to figure out what we're going to do with Crandon's funds so that they don't expire and go back to the FAA. So he says, okay, it doesn't look like they're going to use them, so we're going to apply them to Merrill. And there's always a little bit that maybe come out of that pot and some others that come into that pot, but it's a best guess. And he has indicated, Evan's coworker has indicated that for hangar projects like these, where bill and entitlements are the only FAA available funding sources, they see the importance of pulling the money that they can and putting them towards those projects. So it does seem like it is a priority in that section.
So other municipalities don't necessarily have to be committed to saying they will do that, or it's better if they have committed and said that they would?
It typically doesn't happen until the year that the funds are going to expire, and it's realized that it's too late to get a project going to spend those funds in time, so then they get reassigned.
Okay.
For other projects, it's to finish out construction costs. So a municipality takes a grant to do a runway reconstruction. They don't utilize all those funds because they use less quantities. So that money would then become available because there's that little bit of overage that they can't spend prior to the period of performance on those.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're bringing us a balanced budget tonight, knowing that we can do some adjusting. Have you factored this into this balanced budget?
Yes, as a TID 11 project, not the general fund project, and using bond proceeds, obviously.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Our next speaker to address you is Rich McCullough. He's your current FBO fixed base operator and the manager of the airport. His wife Diane is here with us tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I just want to say a few quick things. I have been here since February 2013, and we have seen a pretty steady grow every year as far as the maintenance is concerned. Because of that maintenance, I believe that's why quite a few aircraft have moved to Merrill, because of the operations and the service that we do provide. When I came on in 2013, we had 23 aircraft based here in Merrill, and we're up to 49 now in a short amount of time. And we do have, I just added a 20th name to the waiting list 2 days ago. So we have 20 aircraft of people trying to move to Merrill, as well as just trying to house their aircraft here. So with that, of course, space is needed, which is the need for this building. We are pretty packed, as you've seen in the photos. The apprenticeship program's going pretty well that I just started late this year. I'm hoping that extends to our local high school. Again, I said it before, I've got a young lady coming from Wittenberg, Burnhamwood, 5 days a week. I'm hoping that this program it just started this year for the state youth apprenticeship program as far as aircraft maintenance goes. They also have another one for airport management side as well. So I'm hoping maybe we can get some more students from a local level that I can entertain there. I'll end it real quick. I know there was some concerns about, my contract is ending December 2025. I have spoken with Gary Schwartz about it, just for the uncertainty of whether or not I'll be here. We've decided that I'd be willing to sign a new contract that would take me into 2030 early to help maybe ease some minds. So with that being said, that's all I've got to say. If anybody had any questions specific to what I'm doing.
Do you have any idea how many flights come and go in a week or in a day, or?
You know, it's hard to say. That's the magic question. I wish I could have a number. We've had anywhere from, when we do our fly-ins, to 40 aircraft in a night, to several commercial guys coming in a day. But it's hard to say. Weather predicts a lot of that. And then business. When 2020 occurred with COVID, we did see a drop in commercial, but we've regained that in probably the last year and a half to 2 years. We started to see an increase in commercial business jets coming in again. So I'm hoping that trend increases. I was afraid of where that was going to go with everybody meeting online, but we're starting to see that miss of face-to-face meetings again, and that's coming back. We're seeing that quite a bit. I would say this year alone, we've seen more jet traffic than I've seen since 2020 here in 2024. So.
I think I can help speak to the question about number of operations. So the airport is currently undergoing an airport master plan that's being prepared by Kaufman Associates, an airport planning firm out of Kansas City. They actually had provided a letter that is also in your packet regarding this item. With their kind of national perspective on this project and on your airport. I can't remember off the top of my head what the forecast estimate is that they had put together in that master plan. I want to say it's either 12,000 operations annually or 17,000 operations annually. For some reason, one of those numbers sticks out in my mind. Regardless, each takeoff is an operation and each landing is an operation. So that puts you in the ballpark of somewhere between 20 and 40 operations per day at the airport on average.
And we have no idea of the financial impact of any of
No, because
that.
with them going out in town, staying at airports, going to restaurants, doing business deals, bringing business into the city, opening new businesses, and then what their business they're getting from the local, we have no take on that number. There's no reportings as far as to the airport.
You said when John Deere was coming here, they flew in quite a bit, right?
They did. When is it McCoy? Is that the name? Yeah, when they were coming in headquarters, and I didn't realize this at the time, but John Deere is headquartered out of Boston, Massachusetts, and they were flying in quite regularly, renting cars quite a bit. They usually stage about 3 vehicles from Bremen Ford, and they were coming in quite a bit while that construction was going on. So they still do come in periodically. I usually don't know when. They don't always tell me. But they'll bring in clientele from other states to check in. And that's with several businesses throughout town. It's not just a few select names. So again, I'm not privy to all this. I don't ask a lot of questions with these guys that are flying in. A lot of the times it's a charter company and they have no idea why they're here. They just know to drop off person A and B to Merrill and then be back in 3 hours to pick them up. So they're simply here doing business. They want to get in, get out, do what they've got to do, and hopefully get a good relationship with the companies. So
The next closest repair facility is how far away?
you've got, I got to think about this. Iron Mountain would be your next, Rice Lake, Iron Mountain.
This new facility will add the capability to repair. How many would you be able to bring inside?
Right now, I can get 4, sometimes 5 if I have the right configuration. With this, I could possibly bring in 6 to 8, depending on the size of the aircraft. Parts availability is a hard one, so I'm stuck with trying to stuff airplanes elsewhere or traveling to them, which puts a pretty big hinder on me. We make it managed. We get it to work, though. As far as CWA goes, I've been handling that aircraft for 2 years now. They haven't been able to get a maintenance facility up and running. And I was just notified this morning that they're looking at shutting it down. The airport maintenance for the grounds wants to take over that building, so they're going to be giving it up. So they won't. That tells me that they're not even trying to get maintenance anymore. They're just going to let us continue to keep doing it. So.
And if we sell our old hangar, doesn't that bring in more property tax too?
Sure. Well, lease fees. Yeah.
Right, they're all capped.
lease.
That's
They're
personal
not taxed.
property, isn't it?
They're not.
The property is owned by us. They lease the ground.
Hangar taxes or some kind of tax?
Correct. Property tax. Personal property tax.
Personal.
Personal property tax.
But that, they don't collect personal property tax anymore, correct? No.
Although they
No, I'm saying not anymore. but-
Right.
Although they did get rid of personal property tax, hangars were exempt from that rescindment of personal property tax, so hangars are still eligible for personal property taxation on top of the annual land lease.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
The last speaker to visit with you is Evan Henson. He's not a Merrill resident, but he's a pilot. They own an aircraft, and I'd like him to tell you a real short story about his experience at Merrill, and I may have a couple closing remarks. By the way, he's a retired U.S. Army officer.
Also retired law enforcement officer from Portage County. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much for allowing me to address you today. It's truly humbling to have people from the state, an engineer and everything else, and be allowed to speak with them. I am a recreational pilot. I live in Stevens Point, a community that is a little over twice the size of Merrill. Yet I come here to Merrill. I got my instruction here. It's got some of the best recreational pilot instruction in the state. It's got far and above the most available small plane maintenance in the state with Park City Aviation. They're competent and they're just wonderful to work for. There's almost nothing, as you've been told, available in the state. To top the whole thing off, this is one of the most aviation-friendly communities that I've been to, and I've been to almost every airport in the state, and there's at least 3 individuals in this room here tonight that have been to every one. One of them's wearing a T-shirt that says he has, so. This, by far, is one of the best-maintained general aviation airports in the state. It's the cleanest, it's the friendliest, and the most competent. I would encourage, as an not a city resident, I would encourage you to consider this. Just in the last 2 weeks, because of this aircraft shop here, I've been here 6 times. That means 12 meals for my wife and I, gasoline for our vehicles, gasoline for our plane, everything else besides the money that it takes to maintain that aircraft. So as a former government employee and, you know, not being a stranger to speaking to boards, I would encourage you to consider this just based on the economic value of your airport to your community. I've said for the last 5.5 years that I mentioned it to a number of people in this room that are Merrill residents, but the Merrill Airport is the best kept secret in Merrill. There's no question. It needs to be told to the citizens of this community because they got really something to be proud of here. And that's coming from a person. We've got an airport in Stevens Point that has 0 maintenance, does not have an FBO, does not mow. You know, the only thing that we got to our credit right now is 7 miles of security fence. So, so congratulations for what you do here, and it's truly an honor to speak to you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. I just add one little thing on the entitlement program. The entitlement program is designed to do maintenance projects at airports throughout the state, and the airport has to be willing to do projects and to upkeep their infrastructure before they're allowed to be in the program. Merrill received its first entitlement in 2002, and we've received one every year since. 22 years without one being missed. $3.3 million came to you to help run your airport. So I'd say we're done for the evening unless you have some questions.
I have one question. The 150,000 or 1.5 million in entitlements, does that include money from other cities, or is that just what we have saved?
No, that's the money that Merrill itself has received each year for 22 years. I think what you're referring to is, and Evan touched on it, Carl, the entitlement program, you can accumulate the money for 4 years, and if you get to the 5th year, it falls off the table. So it goes back to the government without being used by your airport. So what's been done in the past by the POA is when they saw an airport where the money was going to fall off the table and go back to the government, they would come to other airports that are doing projects and transfer the money to them as a loan. And then later on, that money can go back to them. So Merrill's participated in that loan process 3 times, where we've gotten money from other airports when we needed it for a project, and then later when we weren't needing the money quite as much, it went back to that airport.
Okay.
But the airport itself has received $3.3 million of our money for your airport.
Okay.
Rebecca, I think that 1.5 you're referring to does include entitlements from other airports. But you look down below and the repayment of the loan will also include entitlements in the years until it's paid. So if that answers, I think that's what you were asking.
Yeah.
All right. At this time, would the council make any motions, or?
I'll make a motion. Statements, and I think that this is a very big project financially. The city's not doing the best financially, we can do better. And a crowd doesn't necessarily intimidate me, but I have to say, we'll never have the opportunity to get a bang of a buck for a building like we are for this amount of money. We're never going to do this. And the thing that impresses me most is I want maps to be in that airport filming and stopping the brain drain of youth from Merrill leaving for other communities when they go out there and learn a trade, learn a good trade, learn a well-paying food on the table trade. And that's what this whole airport community needs, is they need people that are craftspersons that can keep these planes up and running. And obviously that's a dying thing. And if we can make that airport into an education center for our area youth and get them, I mean, this is such an opportunity for us to pass by would be foolish. And I've learned over the last 3 years a good mechanic is very important. So I will make a motion to approve this and have it in the budget for 2025.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to include this in the 2025 budget. Any discussion?
I think the only
agree
thing.
totally with Mr. Kaler, what he discussed. You know, the multiplier effect that airports have for a community, you can't underestimate that. It helps keep our businesses in town and in the area, and hopefully it will bring other people to, you know, tourism and business to Merrill as well. And I was on the airport commission the last 5 years. I was assigned to it. And you got a very frugal group of people here that know how to use their money properly, and they have never been questioned about what they've done with their project money. And Gary Schwartz, he has connections with FFA, BOA. That all helps. His efforts have greatly been a big asset to building the Merrill Airport. And he should be recognized for his efforts and his work.
Emily, did you have something you wanted to?
I think I just wanted to say that TID 11 has the borrowing capacity for this project, but that's really about it. So we also have State Street in the 2025 budget, so those 2 projects, and that would be really all of TID 11's borrowing capacity. I'm just saying, so we know what we're saying yes to or saying no to. That I think there was some talk about, was it Water Street?
No, it's Grand Avenue from Champaign to State Street. We do have another funding mechanism. We are applying for a grant with the DOT for the surface portion, and we can take out water and sanitary.
Clean water loans?
Yeah, clean water loans for the rest of it. So I think we do have a path forward, and those are the big projects for that area. And I know State Street has been brought up several times, and that is on the docket for this coming year. So I think Mr. Kaler said it best, though. It's an opportunity that we're not going to get again.
Any further discussion?
I would just comment that I agree with all of that, and I think that it is a wise thing to do, but then we have to also follow through with all of the investment to say we are going to let people know about our great airport. We are going to do whatever we have to do to market that aspect of Merrill that has not been brought to attention before.
Do you know anybody in the marketing committee?
I might.
I might know a guy too.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Michael Kaler.
Aye.
Mr. Meyer.
Aye.
Ms. Firmanek.
Aye.
Mr. Lass.
Aye.
Mr. Rick.
No.
Mr. Wykes.
Aye.
Ms. Rutkowski.
Aye.
Mayor Haas.
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler.
Aye.
8 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you. You're approved.
Thank you, council. And Mr. Mayor, will you excuse us?
Okay, go ahead. You don't want to sit through this. I'm going to let Finance Director Lee kind of take the reins here, so.
Great. I think we'll jump right into the general fund. That was the big packet. We ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to jump right to the second page. That is the general fund overview. And what I wanted to sort of start off our conversation by saying is we are bringing you a balanced budget. So revenues, if you look in column of 2025 proposed, revenues of $13,752,432, exactly equal expenses. There's a little asterisk to a balanced budget. I do have $290,000 from the reserves coming in to balance the budget, so that's highlighted in yellow. And we're doing that because that is the anticipated amount we're going to need for employee retirements in 2025. We have 6 known retirements, and there is city policy as vacation and sick leave payout. And so we estimate we're going to need about $290,000 for that. And really, you know, with our levy limits, the only way we can do that is with using our fund balance. And it's a perfect use for it. It's one-time money for a one-time expense, so this is a perfectly legal use of those funds. So on the good side, the positive side, we have a balanced budget. So if we like what's in this budget, we are good to go after, or we can tinker whatever you want to do with it. But we have a balanced budget, and I have in green highlighted there that this is a 2.1% levy increase. So I sort of adjusted revenues to make it a 2.1% levy increase.
That's less than we anticipated our last one.
Correct. We were looking at 2.5 before.
That was the instructions that was given, I think, all the way back in August. That's where we want it to be.
Yep, so this budget includes a 2.5% wage increase. It includes $10,000 as a contingency for parks, specifically for the aquatic center, and has $10,000 built in for streets for a contingency. This is just a little bit of a cushion budgeting in for a hard winter instead of an average winter, you know, and if those funds aren't needed, they will lapse. They'll go back to the general fund for the next year usage. It also includes $8,000 for election voting machines. I had $16,000 in there the last time we looked at the budget. I have reduced that down to $8,000. Other big things in here, I'm talking just broad overview, big strokes looking at this budget. We did a lot of reallocating employee expenses, looking at where employees are actually spending their time and sort of budgeting them appropriately that way.
Do you have this on any particular page, Emily, or are you
Sure.
just?
Well, I'm just hitting the highlights before I didn't want to
okay.
bog you down with a bunch of
I just want
detail.
to make sure if there's someplace we should be following, we were.
We're all trying to scramble and find a page to look at.
Well, so what I don't want to do is bore anyone. I did make a lot of like summary sheets and then all of the details behind it. So if we want to go department by department and look at all the budgets, we certainly can. We made it through page 36 last time, so we could pick up right there and keep going through them. Otherwise, we can sort of focus on the summary sheets, and then if there are questions, dig into the detail behind it for specific questions.
To refresh memory, did we make any significant changes in the first like 35 pages last
We did
time?
not.
Yeah, okay.
I think in the past, we do most of our work in the capital, and we just kind of trust, now we can trust our finance director with, she seems to have a firmer grasp than in the past, where there's a lot of calculations going on that last night.
Right.
Well, and if we want to just jump to page 6 of your packet, that is the summary of the expenses. So that has all the departments. Again, this is just the general fund.
Did you say 6?
6.
Sorry about that.
And I invite you to just sort of run your eye down the percentage change from 2024, because anything big will jump out there. And I tried to add notes on anything that was unusual or different from years prior.
Emily has added a far right column, and I think it's very useful to see what all of our expenses are here. I know we can look at pie graphs till we're blue in the face, but I think this kind of lays it out there very well.
And I think the question on, if there are questions, I'm happy to dive into them. But I think what everyone really wants to know is the impact on the levy and the tax limit, right? That's what we really care about.
Down to 12,000 a thousand, right? Kidding. Or $12 a thousand.
So this is not part of that. Do you want to take one? They're all turn side visits, each is 2 pages.
Brad, do we know what the mill rate is?
That's on here.
Okay.
There's an estimate because we don't know what the county's going to do yet. The school was tentative.
The school passed. I don't have the certification yet, but their budget was adopted last week. And I have NTC's budget and adopted levy.
So we don't know what what the levy was for maps, what their percentage?
We do. We do not have, the only one we don't have is the county right now.
Okay.
You can handle that.
Yeah, I don't screw it up yet, but it's best.
So the first page with the title City of Merrill Levy Summary, that shows a breakdown of our levy. General fund, landfill, police, school resource officer, Merrill Fairgrounds, community development, which is 0 now, capital projects, and the debt service levy. So all of those together, about 5.975 million, and that's a 2.16% increase. So after we do the calculations, if you look down at the second chart, the tax rate summary, that is a city tax rate of 10.33, down from 16.76.
That debt service number, that includes the airport?
It does not. This is general, this is
Oh, this is, okay.
not TID money.
Okay. all
This is
right.
levy money,
Never
yep.
mind. All right.
Then on page 2, I made a couple of assumptions, and those assumptions are highlighted in yellow, so those numbers theoretically could change. But if you look at the 2024 preliminary levy, I guessed for the county, I just assumed a 2.5% increase. I don't know if that's a good guess or not, but I wanted to have something in there for us to talk about. I have the City of Merrill's levy in there. I have the MAPS levy, which I have noted that is not certified, but I did get that from their finance director. And then the NTC levy, which is certified. I also had to make a guess on the state tax credit because that one will not be posted until November 20th. But all in, the mill rate is about $19.17 per $1,000 of assessed value. So then I tried to make impact on a tax bill because we had a lot of changes this year. So I took a look at a $65,000 home, and this would be before tax credits, but in the sort of brown gray bar, that shows the taxes the last couple of years on a $65,000 property. And then assuming that same property went from $65,000 up to $130,000 value, so assuming it doubled, because a lot of homes did double, the new tax bill on that property would be $2,492.42. It's an increase of $383 from the prior year. So, I mean, I think it's interesting to note that the property value increased 100%, the tax bill only increased 18%. Only 18%, which is still a lot, but for a significant increase in value, that's what I project the impact would be.
So what it looks like is basically you're going to get an increase on your tax bill that basically equals what you would have gotten anyways. It almost looks like it to me.
Yeah, well.
You got to remember when Kit talked to us about the shift from commercial to residential as far as the proportion to, of that 18%, there's a pretty good portion of that that's in there. I don't know if he got that point across. He did mention it, but.
Yeah, I understood that.
And please don't take this as written in stone. Like I said, there are a lot of variables here. Tax credit, we don't know. We don't know what the county levy is yet. But it's a reasonable estimate.
So when you figured out MAPS, did you look at, like, we were put at that $1,000 per student totally on the taxpayer last year? Was it figured that this year some of that's subsidized? Because that was our increase from last year, right? It was like a 39% school increase or something.
That I don't know. I don't have their certified levy. I got this from the finance director, so I will circle back with him.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, good question.
It almost sounded like, just from other meetings that I know I've been at and I've seen that what happened last year was yes, it was all on the taxpayer, but now the state is giving back some of that money to the tax.
Yeah, it's being subsidized.
Like it's being subsidized by the state, so I think that won't be as big of a impact if what I'm hearing is correct.
If you
so.
compare their total levy, again, I'm not an expert in MAPS levy, I don't know. I
Right.
shouldn't speak to it, but it is almost $100,000 less than the prior
Which would
year.
make sense.
Okay.
Because
A million.
it seemed like it went back down to that, closer to that
Yes, thank you.
2022 value.
Yeah, it's like $900-some thousand less.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to forward this on the council, or I don't want to step in front of anybody who wants to do something?
Is there anything else you want to cover before?
I think I'm happy with moving past the general fund stuff and moving forward onto our other funds that we need to still cover. Personally, I don't know how everyone else, there's 7 other people here to.
If there's any motions to be made, now's the time to make them as far as changes, so.
To the general.
On the general side.
I'll make a motion to forward onto the full board the general fund.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to forward the general fund on to the common council for the November 12th meeting. final budget meeting?
Can I make one comment before we do that? I just want to draw everyone's attention to the outside agencies budget, because I don't think we talked about that one. And that's the ones where we actually contribute to other agencies in the community.
Oh.
And, let's see here.
What page is that?
The end. It's the end.
It's the end of the packet as we know it.
Thank you. Yes, 43 of the general fund section.
43.
And the summary is on 42.
Aha.
So we got requests from Park City Gardens. That was $1,000. That was the same that they requested and received last year. The city band increased their request from $11,000 up to $14,000. So that's a 24% increase. The Historical Society increased their request from $5,000 up to $8,000. The Humane Society's request remains the same at $15,000. And Haven, we did not receive a request, but I included a request for $10,000.
Did the Historical Society tell us why they went back up? Is it just because they cut them last year, or they had a special project?
They didn't say. Their letter is on page 45, and it's just talking about some of the things they've done in the community, but they're not specifically explaining why. We also received letters from, let's see here, I just lost my page, 43. From St. Vincent de Paul and for New Beginnings Outreach for Refugees, but these were just sort of generic letters. They didn't actually ask for a specific amount. So I included those letters, but it's up to the council if they want to entertain those.
Yeah. I realize we have a motion on the table, Your Honor.
You can withdraw it if you want.
I was I didn't
Yeah,
make the
me
motion.
too.
Yeah, I'll withdraw.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to cut the Historical Societies back down to $5,000.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to put the Historical Society at $5,000 versus $8,000. Any further discussion?
On just the Historical Society or on the others?
No, just the Historical
Just the
Society for right now. I realize.
Yeah, we'll do each motion. one by one.
Yeah, I realized that we had gotten their financials last year and saw that they had a huge pot of money, so I don't understand why we're continuing to give as much, and they are asking now more for even more than what we gave them a few years ago, so I just
What
don't.
was that huge pot of money? How much are we talking about here?
I forwarded that to everybody. I should.
Okay.
It should have been in there.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was somewhere in the six figures for sure. So.
Ready for the roll call?
Any further discussion? Yep, clerk, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Firmanek?
Yes.
Mr. Lass?
Yes.
Mr. Rick?
No.
Mr. Wykes?
No.
Ms. Rutkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Yes.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Yes.
7-2.
For the city band, their request was 24% more this year. They just did a big project at Normal Park.
Do we remember how much that cost them to do that project? I remember.
85,000, right?
I think it's Dan, he's looking.
Yeah, he's trying to turn his mic on.
It's a switch on the top side.
Testing. Gotcha. Yeah, they gave 75, and then there was 10 from the Chamber Foundation. But that was money that they had raised through a community fundraiser that they did a few years ago.
Okay.
So it wasn't necessarily their operating funds, but it was a fundraiser that they had done.
And they said in their letter that they're getting back to their pre-COVID levels, and so that was what they were requesting.
Right, and I know they've been doing very well, and even adding some more people to their band. So I would be fine with the 14,000, just as long as we're not increasing more and more and more and more and more as the years go on again.
Well, even going back before COVID, we had given them 15.
Right. Exactly. So 14 is still not a bad number to have, and it's a good free entertainment for all of our people in the city. So I think it's still worth donating to.
There was no motion, so I mean, it was just a discussion point.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay.
I'll make a motion to reduce it to 12,000.
The city.
What was that?
I'll make a motion to reduce it to 12,000.
The city band.
City band.
Is there a second to that motion? Hearing none, motion dies for lack of a second. Any other cuts?
Is there anything else in the general packet that we should be looking at too? I know you brought this to our attention.
I'm trying to think. I did 8,000 for fireworks.
We have a match from
Yep.
8,000 from the Tourism Commission.
Okay. No.
Thank you very much for that.
They're each pointing to each other now. If there's nothing else to go over, I'd refer to the people that made the motion to forward this to council. If they want to make that motion
Anything
now.
else you want to add before we move on, Emily, on anything? Or?
No.
Andrew, you want to restate your motion?
I'll make a motion to forward to the council the 2025 proposed general budget.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to forward the general fund portion of the budget to the November 12th council meeting.
With revisions from Historical Society?
With the revision for the Historical Society.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Firmanek?
Aye.
Mr. Lass?
Aye.
Mr. Rick?
Aye.
Mr. Wykes?
Aye.
Ms. Rakowski?
Aye.
Mayor Haas?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
All right, all 9.
Great. Okay, let's jump to the other funds section of your packet, please.
The fun funds.
I have these broken into 2 parts. The levy-supported funds and then the other non-levy supported funds. And again, we can just go pretty high level through this. If there are highlights, those are areas I wanted to draw your attention to just to make sure we're all on the same page for what I'm assuming. The first one is the landfill budget. That's on page 2 of the other funds portion. I have a $10,000 tax levy that's highlighted in green. This one also includes the landfill testing equipment and the proceeds from borrowing for that. No other changes. The next fund is the school resource officer position. Fund. This one is one SRO officer for the full year and assumes adding a second SRO officer in September. So the first position will be split 50-50 with MAPS, they'll pay 50%, and the second position will be 100% funded by the school. But that won't start until September. And the tax levy to balance this fund is $64,300. Okay to keep going?
Yep.
Okay. The next one is the Merrill Fairgrounds budget. This fund includes the fairgrounds, operating the fairgrounds. It includes the camping improvements that are going to be happening at the fairgrounds, and it also includes the Bierman building. And then at the end, we have the room tax as a portion that is included in this fund. So I did a little bit of cleaning up of the personnel expenses in this fund. So if you see a bunch of zeros and minus 100%, it's just because I'm cleaning up how we're allocating those funds, those personnel expenses.
I do have a question.
Yes,
At the
please.
very top there, the highlighted $15,247, the minus 58% tax levy. Why is that tax levy so low? Is that just from the reevaluations, or just out of curiosity more?
It would be best explained by looking at the expenses at the end, the bottom. So we had in 2024 adopted a budget with $116,000 of expenses.
Okay.
And I'm estimating we're only going to spend about $89,000 of that. A lot of that is the camping improvements have not been billed yet or spent yet, so there's some things that didn't get paid for in 2024.
Okay, so it's just being
Right,
rolled
we don't
over
need
into the
to-
next year.
Yes.
Got it. Just wanted that.
Very good question. A lot of this is just maintenance.
With the county owning some of those buildings out there, do we bill them?
The county doesn't own any buildings on the
They don't
fairgrounds.
own any buildings.
The Fair Association.
The Fair Association owns 3 buildings on the property.
Okay.
What ones do they own?
They own the Fair Board, the Fair Office,
Yep.
they own the Locomone Building, and they own the Cell Building.
Cell building.
It is literally called the Cell Building.
It's right back to what was the Knights of Columbus stand.
Oh,
Next to the bathroom.
okay.
Next to the bathroom and the barns.
And that's where you've seen them renting out
Right.
Yeah.
space. Yep.
But the city owns all the buildings, but the Fair Association
Fair board.
board.
Yeah. Fair Association is
And
the,
then-
yeah.
We don't
exempt
own the
from
food
those 3
stand.
buildings.
But the permanent stands are the owners of those too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
One thing to highlight on the fairgrounds fund is the room tax. That's down on the page 6. I'm estimating room tax revenues of $125,000, and we're, by our agreements, 75% of that goes to the tourism committee, and then $10,000 is being spent on marketing, is what I have allocated.
Now, with Mr. Borkland leaving, or resigning, will that position be filled?
Yes. It's actually on the personnel and finance
Yeah,
agenda
I
for
saw
tomorrow.
that on there.
So this fund has an ending balance of $10,000, and it's just a little cushion there in case unexpected, expenses come up. Any questions on the fairgrounds budget? Okay, on page 8 of the packet is the community development budget. That one, you'll see that we have a $0 levy, so that one does not require any tax dollars anymore going into that program. And that's primarily because we eliminated the community development specialist position. So the expenses went down.
That's all being done through this regional section now, right?
We are.
Some of it.
Some of the stuff.
The housing development is, but this is it's part of that.
Okay.
Okay, to keep going?
Yep.
Okay, page 10 is the aviation fuel budget. This one we looked at our first cow, I believe. But this one, again, I have zero tax dollars going in to support this levy.
Mark, did they sell the truck? The fuel truck?
They're looking at the street departments interested in using
As
it
of
for
Thursday, it
something.
had not been sold.
Okay.
What was that?
As of Thursday, it had not been sold yet, but they were talking with the street department.
Right, yeah.
Keep going. Okay, on page 12 is the debt service budget. This is just a list of, I go through all of our debt obligations and I record all of the principal and interest payments that are due. And then we use levy to make sure we can make those payments. So the total levy contribution is almost $1.7 million. And as of tonight, when we adopted our $4.7 million NAN, I will have an updated version that will include debt service for that at the next time.
That's not going to affect our 2.1 levy.
It will
correct?
not, because it is tax increment.
Okay.
On page 15, I made a little summary. On the left side is a summary of all of our principal and interest payments. And then on the right table, the right side, is a table with our outstanding debt.
No.
Any questions here? We are at 2.9% of the state limit, so you can go up to 5% of your equalized value, so we're at a healthy position.
Guess if you look at those numbers, we've heard different percentages over the years. I think it's better to talk in terms of dollars. Our capacity's at 33 million and we are at 19 million, so we do have roughly $14 million of capacity, as she has noticed there, but I just wanted to point that out. Not that we want to use it.
And we're closing 2 out this year, right, or next year?
Those are TIDs. This is general side here.
Oh.
Well, that's what we're talking about when the percentage, right?
Yes, correct. That one sort of is what it is. We can't really make much change to our debts that we have to pay, so. Next budget is the capital projects budget. That's on page 16. I have highlighted in green $100,000 from the levy. And then I incorporated the different projects that we looked at the last cow. And I have a list of those on page 20. Rod just whispered to me that we are, that our borrowing plan, as I have noted here, is not for anything that doesn't have a life of at least, well, probably 8 years. IT storage would probably, and the pool heater, but it's for longer-term projects that have a decent lifespan.
Could you say that again, please?
Sure. The projects that we're borrowing for, that we're taking out debt for, have a longer life than just, 2 to 3 years. So we're using long-term debt for longer-term projects, is the point I was trying to make.
Okay. We went through all those already. Once already.
Are there any questions on the capital?
I just am going to commend you, Emily, for making this all make sense. I mean, didn't have time to look through it, but it certainly just makes more sense on the surface glance than what we've seen.
Thank you for saying that. I can do better. Next year, we'll be a little more organized. I appreciate you saying that, though.
It could be more organized?
We're trying.
Doing great.
Okay. Keep chugging along. I'm moving on to the other non-levy supported funds. So these are ones who do not receive tax dollars. First one is the marketing and communications and the cable franchise fee budget. This one should have purple highlights on it. That will show you have the most updated version. This one I revised today, so it's hot off the press. What we did was we met with the MAPS administration about the Merrill Productions program, and sort of came to the consensus, and please jump in if I'm not saying this properly, but we sort of looked at fully funding the program for 6 months to get us through the end of the school year, and then starting right away in January, we can start looking at the program and making some decisions about, what we want to do with that. But we didn't want to make anything drastic decisions in the middle of the school year. So that was sort of the rationale behind that. So the intent is to fully fund the program without capital for the next 6 months to get us through the end of the school year.
So we wouldn't be using capital for this, but if we didn't have the Merrill area productions, we could use that charter money to fund Hallie's position, is that correct? So that wouldn't be off the tax?
Yes, those.
We do use
Some of
the
it.
cable franchise fee for that social media position. We do use it.
And those dollars are not tied to us having a channel or any specific programming.
Okay.
But in the original request of, what was it, 95, 98?
98,500.
There was quite a bit of capital as far as new cameras and that was taken out, and this is just a half a year's wages.
Oh, yeah, down at the bottom, I have a summary. This was their requested, and then the recommended is the column next to it. So how I changed it. I did include $500 for transportation.
I'm one person, but I don't think that this should fall on the city taxpayer. I think we should be following the county's lead in recording meetings with the camera in the ceiling. And we should be using this money to bank so that we have money for that marketing position if it ever goes away. I personally haven't seen too much student involvement. I think I've seen 2 students, and I just can't say that the involvement was there to justify the city taxpayer expense. That's my personal opinion.
And just so we're all on the same page, there are no tax dollars in this fund, but your point stands.
Yeah,
and I
the
think
fund's
that
draining though, right? Because,
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I understand that.
And I think that the school administration was very willing to work with us and talk about the program. And we did say that everything's on the table. Like, we're not going to, I just said that everything's on the table in terms of what we might do with the program. So we're going to start in January is the plan.
Okay.
At this time, though, when you look at the Midwest Communications budget in there, which is
Second from the bottom, it's $44,208.
right. That it was broken down into ZTV was $12,000 that we paid for ZTV advertising. And then 5808 for the Merrill Minute, which is advertised on WGM or WDEZ and the Polka Show. I'm proposing removing those two from the budget to make that 44,208 to 26,400.
I'll second.
I'll make that as a motion and then.
I'll assume you were a second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to remove the ZTV $12,000 in the Merrill Minute for 5808.
Your Honor, I'd like to say I'm in agreement with the ZTV portion, which is $12,000 out of that annual contract. The Merrill Minute, based on the information that we received from Midwest Communications, there are over 61,000 people listening to that during those spot times that we run our stuff. And I think, yeah, it could be cut if we absolutely needed to, but I also think that it serves the purpose as, you know, their sales pitch, and I'm in agreement that we can put out who we are rather than having the local places tell us who we appear to be, you know? I mean, Merrill's had their own reputation for many things that have not always been favorable, and by us being able to do this, we can put out a favorable, who is Merrill, what a great airport Merrill has, as opposed to, you know, so I would be willing to leave that 5808 into there, but cut the 12,000 out for the ZTV.
Any further suggestions? Hearing none, clerk, call the roll on the total amount.
The one that's removes the ZTV and the
And the-
Merrill Minute.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Mr. Lass?
No.
Mr. Rick?
All right.
Mr. Wakes?
No.
Ms. Rutkowski?
No.
Mayor Haas?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Abstain.
And Ms. Verminick?
No.
4-4.
4-4.
The mayor breaks the tie.
I don't know what we do. I mean, it's 4-4.
So it dies?
It dies.
It dies?
Dies, yeah.
4-4?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make another motion to remove the 12,000 for the ZTV.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to remove just the 12,000 for the ZTV. Any discussion?
That takes the contract total to 38,400.
Thank you.
Shouldn't be 38.4.
No.
No, 20.
Should be.
Take out 12,000.
Oh, which one are we taking out? The Merrill Minute?
No,
31.
We're taking out the ZTV, so
I took
you're
the wrong one. Sorry,
removing
sorry.
12,000.
32.
32,208. Thank you.
208. Any further discussion?
You're already doing monthly ads, correct? With Midwest Communication.
Yes.
So, I guess, LaDonna, I don't understand why we need that extra 58 in there.
It is part of the Midwest Communication contract
I
that we
get
do
that.
with them.
But that's why I'm saying, why, if we're already doing the monthly ads.
Well, these are all monthly contracts. I mean, these are all done monthly. The Merrill Minute is done weekly. The other things are probably done weekly. They're done anytime somebody's turning on their computer or their phone or whatever. Those are popping up throughout the area, but those are spread out further around the state. Whereas this Merrill Minute type thing, that's more the radio local. I mean, not local, but it is a little bit expansive and keeps the people in the area familiar with what's going on here as well. So there is a distinction. I mean, the digital ads, the targeted display ones that they're doing, those are going out. You and I probably don't see them because they're not targeting us. They're targeting people around the edges of the state. They're targeting people in certain zip codes that, you know, we're trying to attract here based on the marketing study that we've done. Whereas the radio things are to try and keep our community involved, try and keep other local communities involved in what's going on here. So that's the distinction.
And I guess they can tell you however many people they want to tell you are listening. How many people did it bring here?
It's like measuring the airport. I agree.
I mean, we've got social media contract that could do the same thing. You can put out ads for that.
Well, there's the radio reach that you're not getting. And it is hard to measure, and it's one of those things where we've been trying different things on the committee and trying to get feedback, and I think it's one of those things, like Donna said, it's local right now, and if it's during the polka show and we're talking about events in Merrill, that's reaching people that'll come up here for a day, or, you know, it's not in Iowa talking about, you know, move here, play here, live here, work here. That's what we're trying to do with the other ads. So it's more of a event advertising for the local area. And that, am I wrong?
No, and it's not just event, but it's also, you know, like the mayor talking about what's going on in the community. It's you know, okay, so we're going to do this airport project. This is a great opportunity for us to start sharing that there. I mean, it's a local outreach, but it's further than word of mouth right here in town. And it's also us telling the adjoining communities our side of the story before they come back and tell us what they heard.
That happens anyways.
So,
I don't know. Like I said, they can make up any number that.
Well, there's a trust factor there. I mean, we're trusting their click-throughs and everything else on their marketing side, or on their digital side too, so.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, and the motion is to remove the 12,000 for the ZTV. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Rick?
I think it should be more, but I'll vote yes.
Mr. Wykes?
No.
Ms. Rutkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Haas?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Yes.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Myers abstaining?
Yes.
Ms. Firmanek?
Aye.
Mr. Lass?
No.
6-2.
Anything further on that budget?
Okay,
Move
jumping to page 23 is the proposed fire inspection budget. This is funded by 2% dues that we receive from the state. Any questions there? Okay, next one is, this is the last of the other funds. It is the Maryland Richmond Center Transportation
Bob, did you have
budget.
anything?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you have something on that last one?
No.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Maryland
Thank
Richmond
you.
Center Transportation budget. This one I included because it does have 2 drivers, and those are funded through payroll, so I wanted to make sure we had a budget for those positions.
Are these just occasional positions? They're not ongoing hired
Right, and if you
staff?
look
or-
back at the history, they're not very regular.
Okay.
It's not- Any questions?
This is my first budget go-around, so if we decide to remove a position down the road here, these funds would just go back in the general fund, correct?
Well, I'm sorry.
It would be,
Go ahead.
depend where the position was funded from.
Okay. Well, there's more than one I'm looking at, but I'm not sure when the time is to discuss when we to remove positions and add positions and increase pay for certain department members, things like that. I mean, is this meeting?
I would do it now.
It's about 45 minutes ago when they forwarded this to
from the
council.
general.
Oh, okay.
That's when you should have done it.
Oh, see,
That's
I'm
why
learning every day.
That's why before I asked them to redo it, was there anything else?
Okay.
I'd love to hear you cut so loud.
I have a lot of cuts.
Do we need a motion for the consideration of other city funds group there?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to forward consideration of other city funds as decided by our actions this evening to the full budget.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the consideration of other city funds as adjusted at tonight's meeting to the final November 12th budget meeting. Any discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
is it possible to, that the clerk make sure that when it's put in here that I'm abstaining from the certain
Yes.
funds that I have abstained from, which is basically the Fund 26 for Rare Productions and marketing.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you.
That'll be noted.
Also, Mayor, on Alderman Haas's, or Lass's, excuse me, point, when we get to the November 12th meeting, I mean, if we're going to come there and make changes, we're going to have another meeting after that. We can't ask Emily, okay, what does that do to our tax levy? Tonight's the night to make any changes, so when we come to November 12th, it's more of a hearing on what's proposed, and it will be approved that night. That's not the night to make cuts.
I think the ship has sailed in this budget in general, where we're at.
Yep, no, I just want to make sure everybody realizes that that meeting isn't what that's for. Tonight is what that's for.
So as of now, we have a motion and a second to move forward the consideration of the other city funds with the adjustments made tonight. Hearing no further discussion, all those in, oh, excuse me, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Wikes?
Aye.
Ms. Rutkowski?
Aye.
Mayor Haas?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye on what I have not abstained from.
Yep. Ms. Firmnick?
Aye.
Mr. Lass?
Aye.
Mr. Rick?
Aye.
Okay, 9-0.
Thank you.
Okay, keep chugging. I'm gonna move on to the tax increment districts.
Literally?
Minnesota.
So on page 2 of that section, I have a summary with all 12 districts lined up with their revenues over their expenses and their ending fund balances.
Looks wonderful.
Thank you. And then all of the detail is behind it, so if there's anything we want to look at, we can jump to that specific budget.
I think the only one that I think we should look at, honestly, are the ones that could potentially close this year, 3 and 4. I mean, because everything else, for the most part, is going to kind of be
So it'd be 3 and 5.
Is it 3 and 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we might want to look at 11 too, just to see how all that airport stuff impacts.
Yep, okay. Okay, jumping to TID 3.
What page is that?
That's on page 4 of the packet.
Thank you.
Do I what? We were there, and then he said he wanted to see more detail. Did you want to go into the detail, or do you just want to talk about it?
If you look at, on page 2, you can look at number 3 and see at the end of this year, there'll be a balance of $1,600. That's kind of where we want to end. We want to zero those out, so.
Okay.
Look on page 2, TID number 3, down to the bottom. 5 also ends up positive.
Because I know with those two, it's been talked about extending those two, or one of those two, or closing them, or I don't know how the rest of this council feels, but some of these TIDs, I'm ready to close out. So,
It'll be a discussion at the joint review board
I don't know.
meeting.
Well, you can have that discussion now. If you wanted to extend TID number 3, and Emily, if you want to just touch on, we can extend it 1 year, but it has to be used for,
There are a couple of different extensions. I'm trying to remember all the different legal.
Affordable housing?
Yes. The 1-year extension is for, you can take your full increment and you can use it for affordable housing anywhere in your city. Does not have to be in the district, can be used anywhere in your city. You take your full increments, which is about, I'm guessing, it's about $672,000, 1-year increment. There's a 3-year extension that you could do for, that's the Act 124 technical college extension. And I don't know that we would qualify for that, but I'd be happy to dig into that.
Yeah.
Possible extensions. I know that the feedback I've been getting is that we're looking to close this one, and people are excited to get this back on the tax rolls. But there is some value into just looking at what an extension would do and what we could do with those monies, just to make sure we're making an educated decision.
this TID has been a donor to other TIDs. It has been a very good producer. It covers all of its expenses. And from what I've been hearing from the other taxing entities, they would like their portion of it. They allowed us to use the increment for these 20 years, and they would like to see the fruits of that. So, and we need it to operate as a city. We have increased costs, probably of $300,000, close to that every year, just for personnel. So, out of that portion, there would be probably a little over 400 would be ours. I don't know, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Ooh. I don't know. I don't want to guess.
Yep.
But that's kind of where, just looking at it, it's like, I truly think that the council should be aware that, yeah, it probably, if it closed, it definitely would help us, especially for 2026 and on, so.
Yes.
The only thing that we've been looking at is we see the assessed value more than likely is going to go back up in those TIDs, where that would be the only reason to keep them open to capture that increment.
You would close at a higher assessed value, and so then everyone would
But
share
that would,
more.
that would mean that it would have to stay a
Open for
TID.
one more year to
Can
get
you
one
repeat
more
that
equalizer.
again? I'm not sure I understood that.
So, again, I'm going to stumble through this. I apologize.
You're doing great.
When
I
you,
just didn't get it.
when you close a district, you close it at the value that it is, and then you share those back with the taxing jurisdictions. If we wait one more year, what I've heard from my conversation with the state, when our equalized values sort of tanked, I was like, what's going on here? So I was calling the state and asking the Equalization Bureau what they said, and they said that often when they see a drop over the next year, it will correct itself. It might swing low and then swing back up. So I was like, well, if we wait one more year, we might swing, we lost $23 million of value in District 3. So if you waited one more year to close, you could recapture some of that value and then close with a higher value, sharing more.
Do we know what our value's at right now?
23 million down.
Well,
But a lot of those values were on paper. I mean, when you look at
Yes.
the state throws a ratio in there, and they were down to like 0.58, and now we're back up to 100, so it could be down to 0.93 next year, and we could gain something there, but,
So in 2023, the equalized value was 52 million. In 2024, it dropped down to 29 million. So we lost $23 million worth of value.
and that was on paper. I mean,
Absolutely.
You're right, but on paper is better than,
all this is on paper, right?
Well, yeah. mean, I could throw darts at something but it doesn't mean I'm gonna be right, so.
So I think if it was my decision, I would look into different options, but not make any decisions until we have more information. What would it look like to close now? What would it look like if we stayed one more year?
Make a motion to send the Tax Informational District 2025 budget request on to the Common Council.
Second.
Who seconded?
So we have a motion and a second to forward the
Okay.
2025 tax increment district's budget requests. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Ms. Rutkowski?
Yes.
Mayor Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Furmanek?
I kind of had hoped to discuss 11 a little bit more,
Oh, I'm
but
sorry.
I will trust Emily.
That's what the ayes
We'll
were
talk about
for.
11 for sure. Mr. Lass?
Aye.
Mr. Rick?
Aye.
Mr. Wakes?
Aye.
9-0.
The ayes all say we trust you.
Okay.
Water and sewer utility.
You guys are just wanting to get out of here, huh? I know I'm gonna point to.
Where is it?
Point two for what?
Can I use yours?
When it's all good?
Thank you. So at our first COW, we looked at the water and sewer funds. And I just wanted to revisit those again very quickly because I did make some changes to the personnel expenses when I split different employees' salaries based on their proposed work. So there's a summary. I don't have this numbered. I apologize. The very next page shows the different salary splits. And so I incorporated those salary splits into the budgets that follow in the next two pages, the water and sewer budgets.
Okay.
Any questions there? So the overall water budget is a 2.6% increase, and the sewer budget is a 10.9% decrease from 2024. And those are by and large from the capital projects. We had more capital projects in '24 than we do in '25. Any questions there? I just didn't want to gloss over that because I did make some changes there.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to forward the utility funds proposed budget to council.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to forward the water and sewer utilities 2020 budget request to the final budget meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, close the roll.
Mayor Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Furmanek?
Aye.
Mr. Lass?
Aye.
Mr. Rick?
Aye.
Mr. Wakes?
Aye.
Ms. Rutkowski? 9-0.
That's all I've got.
Do we want to go over the capital, or did we cover it enough?
I'd make a motion to forward the capital to final budget session. I think we've been, yeah, I think we've been over it enough times already.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to accept the capital request for the 2025 budget. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Roll call, please.
Yep. We're back to the top. Mr. Andrew Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Michael Kaler?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Furmanek?
Aye.
Mr. Lass?
Aye.
Mr. Rick?
Aye.
Mr. Wakes?
Aye.
Ms. Rutkowski?
Aye.
Mayor Hess?
Aye.
9-0. Good job.
Before we adjourn, I just want to thank Emily for all her hard work and dedication on this budget. I think it was a very difficult project this year especially. I know she worked a lot of weekends, a lot of time in here with her four-legged companion along for the ride. So I just want to thank her very much.
Thanks, and thanks for all your patience with me while I'm learning. I appreciate it.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Mark, I broke your pen.